Debbie, are you in control of your reality, or have you always been a master of your destiny?
Oh, good morning, Moreno. That's an interesting question. I would say a little bit of both, but I would say more of the master of my destiny. I'm very intentional about what I do.
Interesting. Can I read to you something that Andrew Carnegie wrote?
Absolutely. Yes.
Let me call your attention to a great power which is under your control. That is not what I'm saying. That's what Andrew Carnegie said to Napoleon Hill in the early 1900s. So that's more than 100 years ago. It is the power to take possession of your mind and direct it to whatever ends you may desire. Andrew Carnegie said, everyone comes to earth blessed with the privilege of controlling his mind power and directing it to whatever he or she chooses. At birth, everyone is given the equivalent of two sealed envelopes, one labeled the riches you may enjoy if you take possession of your mind, and the other is labeled the penalties you pay if taking possession of your mind is neglected. And what we are going to do today, Debbie, is we're going to take a look, reflect on the points in these two envelopes. However, before we do that, I see that in the background there, you have a record, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. What is that? Can you tell us more about that?
And it was by accident. I brought this into my office and put it on display long before this session with Moreno and I was even going to be created. This was a record that belonged to my father. If you can remember, of course, Earl Nightingale used to do a lot of recordings on the radio talking about Napoleon Hill. So it is a very old record. It exists. It's still in the jacket. It's a double-sided record. I feel so blessed and honored to be able to have this as an original. And of course, it's one of my most favorite books, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
You have a very valuable piece there.
Yes.
Really, what I want to do now is share a PowerPoint to guide us, to guide our discussion. Let me add it to the stream like this. So most people fail to take possession of their mind and pay the penalties. In life, very few people take possession of their mind to enjoy the rewards. So let's take a closer look at these rewards and penalties. I think we'll start with the rewards first. Interesting. This list was created many, many decades ago, and I'm wondering how relevant they still are. Things have changed dramatically in our lives, especially over the recent few decades. So let's take a look. The first one, sound health. How does taking control of the mind affect our health? Debbie, any thoughts on that?
Oh, you know what? I think that is probably the primary thing I can, this is too long of a session, although I would love to be able to share more information on this. It's very relevant in my own life, but I've actually seen how it affects other people's health in their lives when they don't have the right mindset into play. And I believe it is the primary thing we need to focus on if we're going to develop a healthy, successful life in general, business in general. We need to focus on our sound health component as a primary responsibility, which goes right back to self-care. That makes all the difference in the world of having the time, the energy, the passion, and the happiness to drive into the business and into life in general. So it needs to be the number one focus, I believe.
This is probably tied directly to psychosomatic illnesses as well. That
Yes.
if we are unhappy, worried, stressed, show a lot of anxiety, then we think we are sick. And when we think we are sick, we are actually making ourselves become really sick. And that is how we lose our health. Good point.
Yeah, definitely.
Peace of mind. Definitely. If we don't take control of our minds, can you imagine all the negative things that enter our mind? Because I think when we don't take control of our mind, we fail to create a filter so that we are selective of what we let into our minds and block out. Any further thoughts on that, Debbie?
Yeah, that's the primary focus is really, I mean, we refer to sort of the peace of mind as the center of real deep happiness in life. That is the ultimate thing from a mindset point of view where we need to strive to is that peace that allows us to really interact, be creative, innovate, do all of the amazing things that we do as human beings. And, resolve, having peace about the issues. I mean, this is probably more important now. While these principles were written so long ago, they are more important now when we've been going through a global pandemic, and now we're going through the war essentially that's happening in Ukraine right now. So, really important principles to consider. We must focus on these.
Good point that you say they are more relevant, or this peace of mind is more relevant to us now than ever before. Of course, everything is relative, but when we don't take possession of our minds, then we are focusing on everything, and that creates confusion. And in confusion, where is there any peace of mind? So when
True.
we take control of our minds, once again, we become selective. We guard our minds against all the negativity, the danger that is out there, that if we let into our minds will literally destroy our sanity. So there goes our peace of mind out the window.
I mean, two words come to mind here, Moreno, and that is intention, being very intentional about what we're focusing on and being very disciplined. And
Mm.
those two things lead to the peace of mind.
I like that. Disciplined and intentional, which means we need to have a plan. We need to know where we are, where we want to go to, what it is we want to achieve, our ultimate goal or goals, and how to get there. And once we know the lay of the land, in other words, we now have a map. It's like going on holiday. Say you want to go on holiday, but you don't know your destination, or maybe you do know your destination, but you don't know how to get there. It's far away. Are you going to be peaceful about your upcoming holiday? I doubt it. I think we would be fretting about how are we going to get there? What route are we going to take? How do we need to prepare? Are there any dangers? Should we travel by day, by night? Too many
You
what?
bring you bring up a really good point because here's the thing, we put way more energy into planning vacations and holidays in our travel than we do putting intention and energy and focus onto planning our lives or our business or our careers.
Good point. I think that we don't place enough emphasis on organizing and planning our lives, our major projects, because I think, first of all, because they're not clearly defined. Whereas a holiday is, if we want to go on holiday down to the coast, say Mexico, it's quite clear where we are going, what we are going to do. It's quite obvious what the beach looks like, what the sea looks like, what the accommodation looks like. We've heard and seen enough to have a clear enough picture to be enthusiastic about it, and how it looks attractive. We are going to really enjoy it. So let's make an effort and plan it well. Whereas our life's objectives, well, they're not as clear. And we also know that the journey there is not easy. It's not as easy as going on holiday, say to Mexico. And I think people fear that. The unknown, the uncertainty, it just requires a different kind of planning.
And a different kind of mindset.
Especially the mindset, yes. Peace of mind. When we take control of our minds, then we have labor of love of one's own choice. In other words, we spend our lives doing the work that brings us joy, that pleases us, that we look forward to, that we get engaged in, that brings us the rewards and pleasures that we want. In other words, if we don't take control of our minds, we're pretty much forced to do anything that comes our way. I see you nodding.
Yeah, there's three points in there that really I want to draw attention to, which of course the labor aspect and the love and then the choice. The idea is whatever we're doing, when we're putting in that real effort and that hard work, that sort of blood, sweat, and tears component, we're doing it by choice, but we're doing it with real love and a sense of passion, knowing that what we're striving for is really worthy of our attention and our focus. So you've got to love the process, not just the end goal. The end goal could be really what's driving you, but knowing that everything that you're putting into it, all that hard work is truly worth it. It's by choice, by love.
Good point. Debbie, I see that, I'm just looking at the comments now, that Ibinario said something very interesting, that taking possession of our mind is easier said than done. And he does end that statement with a smiley, though. It's true that it's easier said than done. I mean, anything worthwhile that we want to accomplish in our lives does require effort, and sometimes blood, sweat, and tears as well.
Definitely. And so initially it appears to be really difficult, but it's a process that we go through, much like physical fitness. We haven't been taught how to actually use our minds. So putting the effort into learning how to use your mind effectively is what is going to make the difference and to make the process a lot easier.
Yes. Freedom from fear and worry. It's
Wow.
the unknown. It's the unknown. That's the first thing that comes to mind. When we don't know what's out there, when we don't know what's coming our way, when we don't know where we're going, then fear sets in and worry.
Yeah, this is a really big point right now. And again, drawing it right back to how can this not be more relevant now, as to what it was when it was first written. So we need that freedom of from being fearful and worrying, and knowing that we can set up certain parameters in our life that are controllable, that are predictable in our life, but also having a mindset of accepting certain things and being at ease with it, and being assured that we are standing in who we are, like our character, our values, our principles. We're living a life according to what is valuable and important, and offering value to other people. When you put meaning to certain things, it can have a real benefit, but we want to make sure we're putting the right meaning to certain events and circumstances that are around us.
Yes, putting an emphasis on meaning, putting an emphasis on the meaning, on things that we can control, yes. Not things that are uncontrollable out there. Absolutely. True. Controlling our minds definitely gives us a positive mental attitude because it puts us at ease. We are familiar with our surroundings. We know where we are going. We have direction. We have a map. There is certainty, and that creates a positive mental attitude towards the things that we know we need to do?
This is a really important point because we emotionally can be moving to the negative side where we're worried, we're fearful, we're unhappy, we're disappointed or frustrated. But the idea is, and again, it goes back to everything we acquire in life with and through other people. When you're interacting with other people, we have more of a tendency to drive connection with other people that has a positive impact on other things and other people when we are more positive than we are negative. So, the spirit of joy, when you're really wanting to have that peace of mind, when you want to have that joy and that happiness of life, you have to exhibit the positive mental attitude, probably more so than the negative side of it, so that you have some common ground, and knowing that you're uplifting other people rather than tearing them down. And we're encouraging and supporting each other as people so we can be the best self.
I like that. A positive attitude is contagious and rubs off on other people. The last point in the first envelope is materials of our own choice and quantity. I imagine because we live in a materialistic world, having a positive mindset, when we control our minds, we are able to acquire those things that we need to help ourselves. And when we help ourselves, we are better able to help others with material things.
I mean, certainly we need to know, like, if something happens, can you walk away with nothing? And I think that's an important question to ask. I mean, I'm in an area that has a lot of wildfires, and my sister actually last summer asked me that question, Debbie, could you walk away and lose everything and be okay with it? And I said yes, I could be okay with it. So the idea of knowing that when you got your health, when you got your loved ones around you, that really is the most important thing. Is there disappointment, of course, and frustration and anger and upset when you lose the material things that you put time and effort into? Yes, but at the same time, you've got to realize that it can be a volatile world and that you could lose those things. But the idea is, when you've got them, do you appreciate them? Do you have deep gratitude? And that's part of the process too. And I have always viewed myself, even when I have original artwork around me, is I am the steward of these items. I don't believe that I'm the owner. I believe that I'm the steward to be looking after them, because hey, when I'm gone from this earth, I can't take it with me.
Yes, I like that. I think it's the best way to live.
True.
To the minimalism movement, that if we lose everything that we own, we're still okay. In other words, one of the best ways to be happy is not to be attached to things. Good point. Now, the second envelope, penalties that we will pay for not taking possession of our minds. Well, the points, I think, in this envelope are like the reverse or antithesis of many of the points in the first envelope. Ill. I think the point in the first envelope, first point in the first envelope was good health. Well, now it's ill health. That if we don't take possession of our minds, inevitably we are going to get sick because of all those things that happen.
If you're sick this is the issue that happens in your life. If it happens in your life, or you're experiencing it, or someone close to you, perhaps a spouse or a partner is sick, or a child is sick, it consumes all your energy. When you're personally sick, that's all you're thinking about. And it is very hard to move forward in life, to enjoy other aspects of life, and to even do any contribution to life, when this is consuming you mentally and emotionally, physically, spiritually. So taking care of this issue, putting focus and attention and self-care is of primary importance.
Mental health, I hear, is a big issue and has been getting worse and worse over the decades, and especially in recent years, because people are just, life is moving just too fast for people to adapt, to keep up with the changes. That creates worry.
Definitely.
Well, here we are. Fear and worry leads directly into this point that when we don't control our minds, we don't know what is going on, we leave ourselves susceptible to all the inputs, which are most often, if not always, not in our favor. And they will tear us down, bring us down, which inevitably creates fear and worry. And you can imagine, Debbie, how much can you achieve? How constructive can you be? How able are you helping others when you are fearful and covered in worry?
Those are really excellent points, Marino. And really what comes to mind with this point, the fear and the worry element, is these are good markers and indication. It's a thought process that drives an emotion of fear and worry. So the analogy that comes to mind is the hand on the hot stove. The idea is only for a few seconds, it's there with the awareness that you have fear and worry. Now, what you want to be able to move into the creative part of the mind that allows you to innovate, to navigate, to be able to take action to alleviate what could be causing you the fear and the worry. So the idea is that becomes the most valuable when you can navigate to the other part of the brain, the most creative part of the brain, to take action to help alleviate or move through these elements that could be causing the fear and the worry.
I like how you refer to the two sides of the brain that are really not identical.
Correct.
Indecision and doubt. Again, when we don't take possession of our minds, we leave, actually, it's true, we leave decision making in the hands of other people. We let lots of different ideas, information enter us, enter our brains, and we just have too much to sort through, which creates doubt, which is responsible for us being unable to make even simple decisions. We are just bombarded with other people's ideas instead of creating our own. Yes, Debbie.
Yeah, you become sort of a slave to other people's goals instead of driving our own. And this indecision and this doubt is really putting you in a state of paralysis where you're not moving forward at all and you're just staying really stuck. And that's a really sad state to be, because what you're doing is you're not fulfilling your potential as a human being, and you're not driving any value into the the workplace environment globally for any initiatives. So we underestimate, we create these self-imposed limiting beliefs on ourselves that are limiting our potential. And that is a sad state of affairs. That has to be dealt with, and dealt with quickly.
Yes, we limit our potential and we are unable to achieve the greatness that we could achieve if only we took possession of our minds. And inevitably, we become frustrated and discouraged. And the problem here is not momentarily, but throughout life, because this would be a long-term downfall that will stay with us over a long period of time.
Yeah, what I see coming sort of futuristic elements is that we live a life of regret. And there's no gratitude with you're focused on everything that you could have done or should have done, how your life would have been different. So that fullness of stepping into regret comes into play. And that is really a self-defeating mindset to actually take on and to hold. And it creates just a great amount of unhappiness in life.
Yes, can you admit, and this would be most evident, Debbie. Imagine at the end of our lives, when we look back and we realize that we have not achieved all that we could have achieved, we probably believe that we would have been able to do a lot more, help many more people, if only we took control of our minds. And that will make us end our lives in a state of frustration and just continue to feel discouraged, sad, very sad.
Definitely.
Poverty and want. Definitely. Imagine. If we don't take possession of our minds, we let other people take advantage of us. And this, we are living a life of survival of the fittest. And everyone out there is there ready to take your furniture. If we're unable to protect what we have, then we will end up being poor and wanting back those things that we had, or wanting those things that we just were never able to get, but could have got if only we took possession of our minds. Debbie.
Yeah, those are really good points. And what comes to mind for me here is people often, there's two mindsets here: having the money to be able to have the money for ourselves and to be able to do the things that we want to be able to do and to purchase the things that we want to be able to have. But a lot of the wealth component of when you're generating the income and the wealth, you're fulfilling the potential that's within you. It allows you to do so much more for other people that don't have the capabilities to do that, where there are needs to be fulfilled around the world. And so that becomes a really worthy aspiration that fulfills a lot of deep satisfaction and happiness in a lot of people when we can do for other people. So really a lot of when you're taking possession of your mind, it puts you now into a position and opening up opportunities, opening up doors for you to step through to be able to support and help other people when they need it, when they are not able to do it for themselves. Other needs, like whether it's taking care of abused children, taking care of displaced people, displaced animals, all sorts of needy things, changing the environment, cleaner water, cleaner air, like whatever sort of aspirations that you have, you can move towards affecting a lot of change in those areas by changing this mindset piece.
Good points about helping others. That reminds me of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And the highest one is self-actualization, which really means reaching a point when we're able to help others. I think those people that are unable to help others is because they don't have anything to give, or they are not in a position to be able to give. So those people that give freely have reached that level of self-actualization, and is probably a place where people are happiest when they know they can freely give. Last point. Sorry, David, did you want to say something there?
One more point about that, just the element of thinking that, okay, I've got, it's thinking that they don't have anything to give too, because while they go, I don't have anything to give, but that could also be, they're not even aware of what's within them that they're capable of giving. So opening up the mind allows them to realize that they have inside of them gifts and talents that are unrealized, that haven't come to fruition yet, that changes everything for themselves and other people.
There is so much power in the mind. Yes, And the last point, evils. Oh, look at these terrible evils, Debbie. Envy, greed, jealousy, anger, hatred, and superstition. Ouch.
Yeah, I think what happens is this point number 6 drives all the way back to point number 1, was if you stay in this mindset of greed, envy, jealousy, anger, hatred, is that it eventually emits chemicals in the body and in your mind that, you know, that ultimately leads to your own demise, because it will generate sickness inside of you.
You know, just reading the 6th point should be enough to want one to take possession of one's mind immediately, just to avoid that one, those evils. It's like being in hell.
True.
So all this is no secret, which is true. You know, all these points were relevant a long time ago, and they're still relevant now. And as you said at one point, more so now than probably ever before. So what to do? I imagine the answer to that question is simple, Debbie. Just start taking control of your mind.
And we're going to share some really good information about that, even in the comments after this live, so that if people are interested in wanting to be able to go, I need to deal with this and I'm going to do it now, committing to taking the action, that can make all the difference. So you have some other great things to share with us, Moreno, as well.
Yes, I do. Well, first of all, I want to conclude this by saying that we are where we are in life because of all the decisions that we've made. So if we're not happy where we are, well, it's because of those decisions. And if we want to change where we are now, we need to make some new decisions to get us out of this place to somewhere else. And I'll leave that thought with everybody to ponder over for themselves. On the 29th of this month, Debbie, you and I are having a webinar where we will help people get online live. We help people get onto virtual live performances. And this is the link. I encourage everybody to register for the virtual live event, otherwise also known as a webinar. And there we will take you through step by step on the best ways to get online live, feel comfortable, and put on your best image.
It's going to be a great event. A lot of content and material being put forward in there that'll really benefit you, and give you a lot of great tips and ideas. But this is more important than ever right now. If you're on this platform, if you're on LinkedIn, you want to increase your visibility, then these are the steps that you need to take.
Thank you, everyone. Take control of your mind and be gentle with yourself.